Hey wealth builders, and welcome back to the Bemuse, where we are making sense of all things money for young adults just like me. So in case you missed it, a couple of weeks ago we did a really great live stream with Denis of TruFinancials, and I'm going to link to his channel in the description box below if you want to go check it out and subscribe to his channel. He makes really great personal finance content as well. So today we wanted to share with you guys a clip from that conversation where we were talking about what building wealth means to each of us and the steps that each of us are taking to build our wealth.
Because I know what it means to me. But if you guys want to go ahead and kind of let our audience know here, what does building wealth really signify for you guys?
Well, for me personally, building wealth is just something that hasn't been done historically in my family, the cycle of living paycheck to paycheck, generation upon generation. So for me, it's more about breaking that cycle than anything else, I think, personally.
Yeah, ditto for me. Just like I said, looking at it from a different perspective, also us having different backgrounds, living basically kind of in the same region. We actually went to the same high school, went to the same college, but just wealth in a whole is just like she said, just trying to be better than you were today than you were yesterday.
Very awesome. Actually, funny enough that you mentioned that, Mishak, is that one of my personal favorite quotes is actually talking about how I don't want yesterday to be the best version of myself. So I'm always wanting to learn and grow, and kind of building wealth is in that same aspect, is that in order to really achieve that, I always feel that you have to be kind of putting yourself out there and really kind of educating yourself more, because as much as I know about personal finance, I'm still reading, still watching videos, still doing what I can to learn about these things, because I think it really helps me get to a point where I can achieve things that would otherwise seem unattainable for most people. I think there's a big misconception, and the reason I go with building wealth versus getting rich is because there's that misconception of getting rich quick is a possibility, which yeah, you can win the lottery or you can get super lucky, but I think for a majority of people it's really all about building something and getting to a point. So with YouTube and hitting that milestone, it really signifies something that you guys have put forth an effort to be able to achieve, because it's not easy, right?
It's definitely not easy.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, but it's same thing with building wealth. It's not easy, because if it's easy, everybody would do it. So, but if you're putting those layers, you're really going to get to a point where you can have something successful. So whether it's a business like YouTube, or if it's just building wealth in general, it's going to take a little bit of time, but that effort will definitely be rewarded down the road.
And I think that a lot of people, that maybe that's not what they completely get. Obviously not the people who are here in the comments today, but most people think that building wealth is an overnight thing, or it's just, if I do this, then that. I think that our philosophy on money is more than just if I stop doing this, then this will happen. It's more of a, how do you relate with money on more of a holistic level? If I saw my parents, for example, spend money on frivolous things all the time, more than likely I'm going to grow up and think that that's how I should handle money as well. And those can be roadblocks to you achieving wealth.
Wow. Yeah, that's really well said. And I think that's kind of goes in line with the whole, educating yourself and always learning, because I think that's really going to kind of put you forth in a position where you're not going to fall into the traps of doing what other people have done in the past, especially if it's related to parents or siblings, because I think that could be a huge disadvantage to a lot of people. But the power of being able to learn, especially in this day and age where we have YouTube, we have podcasts, blogs, all these opportunities for people to learn, I think is a very valuable thing. But I also believe that if we surround ourselves with those like-minded individuals, that we tend to do better, because then we have a related goal that we can all work towards. And that's what I love about this community and being wealth builders, is that we're all trying to achieve that type of goal, whether it's the exact same or just even a little bit different. I think the notion of wanting to be better with our money and our finances, so that way we don't have to struggle as adults and then have our kids struggling, I think is a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, and go back to what he said earlier. We talk a lot about money mindset as well on our channel. Just the process of learning more about yourself and how you relate to money is just, that could be one of the hugest barriers when it comes to building wealth. You can learn all of the practical tips and tools and things to actually do, but if the mindset isn't right, then it's going to be really hard to achieve anything. So yeah, super important.
Definitely. So the main question I wanted to kind of talk about today, obviously because we're revolving around building wealth, is what is it entail for you guys? Obviously, we kind of understood the notion of like why we want to do it, but what does it really mean in the grand scheme of things? If whoever wants to go first.
Sure. All right, I'll go first. So do you want to go in terms of like the actual steps that I'm taking to build my personal wealth?
Yeah, I mean, you can look at it from that perspective, because I think there's because it's interesting because there's two of you here, so we can get both perspectives as far as like individually, and if there's things that you guys are working on together to be able to achieve that.
Yeah, so I mean, so we definitely have like our separate goals and joint goals. So right now, what I was focusing on up until recently was more building the asset side of my balance sheet, if you will. So working on saving up that emergency fund and making sure that, if anything happens, that I have enough money so that I have 6 months worth saved up at this point where I'm able to have the freedom if anything were to happen, or if I lose my job, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what was my more near-term goal. So now I'm kind of switching focus more over to the debt side and trying to pay off a lot of my debt. I mean, I don't know if there's any of our subscribers in the chat, but we do have a lot of debt on our balance sheets, both of us. So that's kind of the focus. Yeah, the focus is kind of switched over to that side now.
Okay, very cool.
And I would say for me, before, I guess, we started our YouTube channel, my perspective on, building wealth was a little bit different. And like I mentioned previously about just backgrounds and how I grew up. I grew up in a household where number one, a single parent. So for my mom, debt really wasn't something that she taught me to be afraid of. So when I started college and I accumulated all of this debt, now fast forward to now when I got my first job, I wasn't thinking about necessarily creating a pool of money, a rainy day fund, or whatever you want to call it, for in case something happened, or really trying to just pay anything more than the bare minimum on that debt. It was more of a live for the moment type of relationship with money. After, like you said, looking up things, researching, having conversations with other people, having conversations with Akiva, that mentality has definitely taken a complete 180. Where now, like she said, it was, okay, I need to establish a rainy day fund for in case something happens. So did that. Next thing was, okay, like how am I going to tackle this debt so it's not something that's looming over my head for the next 20 or how many years, where that's just going to, again, taking it back to an old economic principle that we learned in our Econ 101 class, opportunity cost, where what can you do with that money if you had it now versus paying interest and whatever on it 10, 20 years down the line.
Wow, yeah, definitely. So that's a really good way to do it, is like build the foundation essentially of your personal finance. Now, I had a question as well, because I know, so you guys were both kind of saying that you're building up a security, which is like an emergency fund, sinking fund, which I think is fantastic. That's definitely a smart way to go about it. As far as now that you're focusing on debts, I know one question that pops up to a lot of people is, is it something that you are wanting to just focus on the debt itself, or are you also focusing in on some of those like long-term assets, such as like retirement or maybe some type of future asset, with whether it's like a house or something else to build up towards?
Yeah, so right now, I mean, I've always, since I started my first job about a year and a half ago, I've always contributed to my 401k, at least enough to get the employer match. So that's really the extent of what I'm doing in terms of retirement planning. Like I said, meanwhile, I was also trying to save up my emergency fund. So now basically it's that I'm still continuing to do the minimum that I need to get the employer match my retirement fund. And then also now shoveling everything that I have that's disposable more towards debt. I mean, there's also a couple of sinking funds, and there's a bit of travel that I need to do this year and things like that. And so I am also saving for those at the same time, but definitely more of a focus on paying off the debts at this point.
Okay. Is that the same for you?
Yeah.
Kind of, sort of, just in a different way. So paying off debt for sure is high on the list. But I guess the way how I'm choosing to do, I work for a nonprofit organization, so I'm able to take advantage of some, well, hopefully I haven't been approved yet, but take advantage of some of the benefits that come along with working for a nonprofit organization such as the government's loan forgiveness program. So that's my shift has kind of changed, where it's like, I don't need to necessarily focus on trying to clamp down on debt and pay as much as I can when I can. It's more of okay, in 10 years, I know that this debt will be forgiven. So still focusing on the building of that fund for, like you said, other things in the future, a house, whatever, any large expenses that might be coming up.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, it's always cool to hear other people's perspectives and like their paths as well.
So I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. Like I mentioned in the beginning, I'm going to link to TruFinancials in the description box below, so you guys can go check out his channel. And today's question is, what does building wealth signify for you? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications by hitting the bell icon so that you never miss a single video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.